G'day, Warbles on a lot here, about to drive to town in the 1.8 litre Subaru with a 30 watt gallium arsenide solar panel, which, as you can see up there on the regulator, has got the battery fully charged despite today being a pretty dull, miserable looking day. Voltmeter's decided to pretend it's not going to work today. So a loose connection in there somewhere. Might even get to drive to town in the rain today. I'm entirely certain. And those two engine starts mean that the solar panel is now charging the battery, which is not actually fully charged. So we got pretty much the first start for free off the float charge. There's the voltmeter, come up to talk to us at last. That scale's absolutely out of whack. Effectively, that's indicating 13.5, maybe 13.8 volts. Based on my experience, having checked it with a multimeter on many previous occasions. Okay, front gate locked, which effectively tells all the honest people that I'm not home. And according to the Solar-Regulator, we've got a fully charged battery. That superhighway we just drove down cost half as much as the car I'm sitting in. And yeah, by the look of that sky, we might even get rained on the way to town. Which is not going to be good for my driveway. This patch here is what you call trap rock. Underneath the grass roots in what passes for topsoil out of four-wheel drive. In what passes for the topsoil, there's a layer of dried powdered clay, which is hard as a rock when it's dry. When it gets wet, it becomes a sort of a colloid. Looks like a cake of custard. And if you poke a stick into it and stir it with a stick, it transforms consistently and becomes more like treacle. So you get liquefaction of the subsoil, and you can drive over it once. If you drive on it again, you just break through the grass roots and you go into the jelly. And you have to dry the ground out. Happened to me last year when the La Nina broke the 10-year drought. It's probably going to happen again this year because we're only in December. I figure it's going to rain for another 2.5 months. Okay, this little track we've been on is the Barilda driveway, our next door neighbour. It's originally gazetted as a back road from Yarraford Station to Dundee Station. See, I'm a good boy. I cruise on 100 k's. Up to the highway. Doing 100 and this bloke's impatient. Meanwhile, you can see the alternator and the solar panel fighting for control of the battery, because there's just enough solar power to run the spark plugs and the fuel pump. So I'm fairly pleased with the way 28-year-old car with an engine that's slightly smaller than 2 milk cartons in terms of displacement is able to accelerate. We have a WhirlyPig. It's a Bell Jet Ranger. It's probably been out busting the local hippie commune on its way back to Glen Innes Airport. He's trying hard to get his arse on the ground and get the main rudders tied down before he gets a wet bum. Here comes the rain. you can see, my voltage drops with the windscreen wipers on, but the alternator's not doing very much at all. Battery voltage hasn't dropped low enough to force the alternator to do much. It's just being a turnaround pulley for the water pump drive belt. So even on an overcast rainy day using the windscreen wipers at 100 k's going to town, the solar panel is the primary source of electricity to run the petrol engine. And at full output it takes 8 horsepower from my crankshaft going into the belt to drive the backup alternator. Solar battery regulator doesn't know the alternator is in the circuit. The alternator's regulator doesn't know the solar panel's in the circuit. And the two regulators fight for control of the battery. And most of the time during daylight, the solar panel wins. So I've got a solar electric petrol hybrid electrical system which saves 266 litres per year at $1.50 something per litre. So the first year it was on the roof, it paid for the panel and the regulator. I did the pop rivetry myself, and if you want a less fancy job, you can fare the solar panel in wood. Lovely piece of traffic on the highway. Now I'm doing 80 kilometres an hour, no 60 here at the sign. We're going to come up to a little bit of a hill. I used to have to go down to third gear in order to get up this hill at the 40 km/h, which is the enforced speed limit going past the school when school hours are happening. After I put the solar system on, I discovered I had enough torque to get up the hill in fourth gear. Here's a bit of a test. Windscreen wipers on. We're in fourth gear. Coming down through 50 kilometres an hour. 1,500 revs. Putt, 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 putt up the hill. And we're on the 15 minutes